Okay, so our discussion will be based on some of the UFT topics today. As we have learned last week, like how to record, right? So let me remove all the code and let me bring this local object repository. Today I'm going to discuss this local object repository. And this local object repository, I'll tell you what it does. And basically, the recording that we are doing so far is on Windows application. And by UFT, we are doing some automation. In Windows application, we will do automation on web application as well. Now, so if you look here, this local object repository, when you create a test, right? Let me see when it opens. Let me show you what we have in this local object repository. So yeah, so what this local object repository does when you record, so the description of the objects are written in local object repository. Can you see this local object repository, Junaid? So in this local object repository, basically when you record, can you see login failed, OK button, agent name, password, right? Yeah. So these are the object that those we are interacting in the application. So let me show you. So here, let's say that if you take a look, this is the parent object, and then under this, yeah, we can make it bigger once. Can you see now? Good. Okay. So what is happening here? See this application, right? This is the application that we are automating. This is an application that comes with this UFT, right? Yeah. We are doing automation on this application. Now, if you take a look, just notice, like we did recording last day. Recording, we didn't do anything else. So when you have recorded, then can you see this password, right? This password. Now if you do a highlight, let me bring this application here. So if you do a highlight, it is slowing, it is becoming a little bit slow, but let me bring it. So let's say that this is the application, and let me see if highlight works here. Can you see agent name, right? If you do highlight, can you see OK button? If you do highlight, can you see? Now, so have we added anything in the local object repository? No. But when you have recorded, it has automatically added these objects like in the repository so that we can interact with this object. So what does local object repository does when you do a recording, right? So when you do a recording, it adds all of the objects in the local object repository so that later on when you replay, it can access those objects. Basically, the detail, like how it will be, interacting with this object is written here. If you take a look, let's say this agent name or password, right? Can you see there are test object properties? Yeah. Test object properties. Remember that we had, like in Selenium, we had inner text, we had ID, right? So here we have this device, dev name, all of this attribute here available here. If you click on plus, you will see more attributes available there. you'll see that can you see more attributes available here? Right, focus, so all of the, if you want to add any properties from here, right, you select it. Now can you see WPF type name, right? If you click OK, now you will see that it will be added here, WPF type name. Can you see we brought that property from the other list, right? If you click plus, that means you will get additional list of properties that you can bring here. If your object identification doesn't work, you can bring additional properties from there to here.
What the purpose?
The purpose is sometimes you will see your object is not identifiable. Whatever you have default here is not working. So you'll have to go there and see if you can bring any other attribute that whatever attributes you are bringing here, those are the attributes will be used to identify that object. So you have a collection of attributes here, those you can bring to identify that object. Got it? Okay. Now, so এটা হচ্ছে তুমি যখন when you go there, you normally if you see something meaningful like ID, name, class name, attribute, like you'll see something meaningful. Whatever meaningful you see, you will be bringing it. So, and by working on it, you will know that okay, this is the attribute. You do not have like thousands of attribute there. Even you do not have hundreds of attribute there. You have 20-30 attribute there. Out of 20-30, you only 4 or 5 or 6 is useful. The remaining is dynamic. So you will not be using those to identify object. Got it? Okay. Now, so to recap, I mean, I'll give you some idea like what attributes you will be bringing. So over the period, I'll give you like. So basically, like when you see a text box, right? If you see an ID, name, inner text, right? So basically, those type of attribute are useful. And if you see, let me go there actually. Plus, right? If you click on plus, you'll see this X coordinate, Y coordinate. This X coordinate, Y coordinate will be changed depending on laptop, right? Depending on what device you are using. So these are not useful, right? You will not be bringing this. This width, right? Width is sometimes dynamic. Width depend on based on the device, right? You will not be bringing it. Can you see test user?
Yeah.
This test user, remember we have input test user there. When we have when we tried to log in, what was the username that we input? Test user. So if other people input another text, then this is not useful, right? Then so likewise, if you see there is a name, let me tell you, if you see there is a name and then name and then this, can you see dev name path, and can you see class name, right? These are the usable attribute. Can you see WP edit name, WPF type name? These are the usable attributes. If you see number, these numbers are dynamic. Okay. Now,
dynamic means
it will be changing. Next time when you open the window, it depends on where the object is, and if the object location change, let's say that this application, right? This is application. Now this application, let me see if we can make it So if you open it in your computer, this x coordinate, y coordinate will be different. Okay. Now,
টেস্ট ইউজার তো এই জায়গায় দেওয়া এই জন্য টেস্ট ইউজার
হ্যাঁ, এই জন্য ওখানে টেস্ট ইউজার
কাজ হবে না।
অন্য নাম দিলে কাজ হবে না।
আমরা কোডে চেঞ্জ করতে হবে বুঝে যায় না।
ওই জায়গায় দেখো, এখানে তুমি যদি এই জায়গায় তুমি যদি ইয়ে দাও, টেস্ট ইউজারের পরিবর্তে দিলা, মনে করো লেটস সে টেস্ট automation user, right? Test automation user. Now if you open this local object repository, and agent name, and if you click on plus, now can you see here test automation user? So that's why these are changing. Whatever is changing, you are not going to use it to identify your object. Whatever is permanent there, you are going to use it. Now, so let's say that these objects, let me remove all of this object from here.
ভাই এই যে উইন্ডোটা ব্লক করতে পারে না উপরে না উপরে তো না কর্নার ডাইনামিক সিনেস এর উপরেরটা জি
I think this is the maximum that I have.
দিস ইজ ম্যাক্সিমাম
Okay. So I'm going to remove all of this object from here. Can you see? I'm removing all of this object. Now there is no object here. Is that correct? Okay. Now, so in the record and run settings, right? Can you see record and run settings? Last day we said that probably I'll have to restart this computer. It seems it is
উইন্ডোজ 20 টা তো হবে 27
27. So here can you see that in the record and run settings we said this will be Windows application, and when we do record and run,
only one application specific দিলো
whatever application I specified here, record and run on this application. Got it?
এটাকে আপনি চুজ করতে পারেন যে application
Yeah, we have chosen, like we have clicked on this plus and then it has given us option, right? Application, and then we went to that particular location where we have this executable file for this flight application. So here, from here we have chosen, this is the flights GUI. So we have chosen it like this. Okay, got it? So that's how. Let me remove this. So can you practice that whatever we did last week? Can you do it now while I'm restarting this computer? Just try to do whatever we did last week. Let me pause recording here. Can you see my screen? Okay. So I'm going to start a new test from scratch. File, new, test, and then I have chosen this folder, right? And I'm going to, this will be a GUI test, and then I'm going to give a name. Let's say test Windows application test. here now every UFT test, right? Each of the UFT test, it starts from action 1, right? So we saw that in the record and run settings, if you want to do recording, right? If you want to do recording, in the record and run settings, you go there and you say if you want to record on Windows application or if you want to record on web application. So let's say if you want to record on Windows application, if you say record and run on any open Windows based application, right? What will happen? If you say record and run only on application specified value, that means when you start recording, it will be opening this application, whatever you are specifying here, right? Now I'm just showing you a basic difference. Let's say if you say record and run on any open Windows based application, then what will happen? So what will happen, let's say that you already have an application open from previous let me first open this application. Computer, C drive, and then program files, and then micro focus, and then unified functional testing, and then you come here samples, right? You go to your samples folder and clients application. I'm just keeping this application open, and let's say this application is open, right? And then what I'm saying here, let me minimize this. I'm saying that record and run on any open Windows based application. And if you say apply, okay. Okay, now if you start recording, you will see that it will not be opening any application. Previously you saw when you have specified an application in the record and run settings, it was opening that particular application. Yeah. Now is it opening any application now? No. No. Why? Because I didn't say any specific application to open, right? So what is happening here? This application, I said that I'm going to record on any open application. So what application open? Let's say I have this flight application open, right? So my recording has started. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this now. This application is not there, right? So I cannot see this application, so I'll have to click here, right? So I'm going to click here to bring this application, right, so that I can start recording. So here I'm going to put a user ID, test user, and I'm going to put a password, test password, right? And then I'm going to click on OK, right? I'm going to click on OK. And then when I clicked on OK, it is saying that is incorrect user ID or password. I'm going to click OK here. Okay, so my recording is done, and I'm going to click stop recording. Yeah, the application was manually opened. So now let me tell you what is going to happen. Okay, if you, let me close this application. If you now run it, right, remember you always select temporary run results, otherwise it will create, every time you run your test, it will create a temporary folder in your computer. So you run your test. Now you'll see that your test will be failing because we do not have any application opened. So you'll see that it will be throwing an error message that Okay, so it is on line number 1 and it will throw a error message in line number 1 because we do not have any application open. So when you have a application specified in record and run settings, when you click on replay, it will be automatically opening that application. But in this case, since you do not have anything in the record and run settings, it is not going to open an application. And here we'll see there will be an error message that agent name, it cannot identify this object. You got it? Now what we will have to do, we'll have to open that application. How will you open that application?
First you need to open it and then...
Yeah, then you can identify those objects. So how you can open that application, right?
So what is the difference between two?
So the difference is here, if you do not have that settings in your runtime settings, you will have to write code to open the application. That is what I'm going to write now. So you'll see that. Okay, now I'm going to go to my action and I'm going to write my code. Now what we are going to do here in line number 1, we are going to write the code system util dot run, not open, dot run. And what do you want to run? You want to run that flight application. And what is the path of that flight application? This is the, I'm going to give this path, right? And then what in that path, what is the name of this application? You'll have to go there and get the name of this application. Right? You put your application here. Right? Now if you run it, right? Now if you run it, you will see that it will be opening that application and then it will be performing those steps.
Number 1 or 2 options.
So
any specific build or any Windows based application?
It basically this is for Windows, for web application, it will be the same everywhere. Even in case of web, now can you see, now it is opening the application, right? And then it will be typing here and clicking OK, right? Same thing web application. If you want to run, if you want to work on a web application that is set up in the runtime settings, it will be open. And if you do not have that setup, you will have to write code to open it.
If I keep that application open on the desktop, do I still have to write that code the first time?
The first line, yeah. You will have to. So if your application is opened already, then you do not have to write it. But the problem is, like, when you are running your automation test, you do not want to have any manual work. Your application opening, everything will be done by code, Now, so can you see, every time it is opening the application, it is opening, keep the application open, right? But we want to close that application. Now, if you want to record how to close that application, how will you record that part? So you will be, after doing everything, you want to close the application in line number 6, correct? So you put your cursor in line number 6. Now we are going to record that step. I'm going to click on record again, and okay, now the only step that I'm going to do is close this application, right? So I'm going to actually, before I close this application, let me handle this close application. Now I closed this application. Was it really closed? No. Let me put one more click here, right? Yeah, now it is closed, right? So I'm going to stop recording. Can you see how I have added another line, right? And then now if you run it, you will see that it will be opening the application, it will be doing the stuff, and then it will be closing it. Okay, it is doing stuff and closing the application, right? Now, so if you want to make it more visible, what you can do, you can add the highlights each of the. So now try to understand this before I do this highlight. Now can you see this edit, right? This application, let me just keep this application open. I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Let me put a breakpoint here. Okay, now let me run it again. Actually, before so can you see this edit, right? Up to this is the object. You understand? Up to this is the object, and here we are doing an activities on that object. Now I'm going to put this object here and do a highlight on it. Dot highlight. And then I have this password text box. I'm going to do it up to this is my object, and I'm doing an operation on this object. Dot highlight, right? And then this is the OK button. Dot highlight, right? Okay, now let me run it. So it is open the application, it is doing a highlight, and then it is doing a highlight, clicking OK, and then now before closing the application I have a breakpoint here. It is waiting, right? Can you see? Now I'm not going to close this application. Instead, I'm going to stop this execution. Okay, I'm going to stop this execution because I want to keep this application open for a reason. Now, how it is able to, when you have recorded, right? How it is able to identify the objects on this application. So when you are recording, right? Remember that this is my object, and this object is under this window. Remember in Selenium we have a browser, and then what? We have a driver, and then we say, okay, this is my object, we provide description, right? So here we are saying this is the parent window, and inside that parent window I have this WPF edit, means text box, and then I'm saying this is my parent window, and under that I have this agent name. Same thing, I on that agent name I did one time I did a highlight activity, another time I did a set activity. Got it? Next time we have this WPF window, we have this password object, right? And we did a highlight, and then on that password, remember we have set up a password. When you input a password, it becomes set secure. Remember, password is coming encrypted, right? So in UFT it will be coming set secure. So this is an activity that we are doing on that password text box. Got it?
We can make the password visible.
No, we can. So we will be able to make this password visible when they have developed this application. If they didn't set that option secure, then it will be, we cannot do that.
WPF edit password object.
Object. And then the remaining part is the action that we are doing on that object. Okay. Then you come here on that button, right? Can you see this button? Up to this is that button, and then we are doing a highlight on that button.
Button object, right?
Yeah. So object here, basically this is the actual object, and this object is under this parent object. You got it? The whole window we are calling parent object, and then that button specifically is our object of interest. But to reach that button, you'll have to use that parent object. You got it? And then when we click on OK, because our password is not good, it is opening.
And highlight clicks here, those are actions.
Those are actions.
Working on those
Object. Now, when you are clicking OK, since our password, user ID and passwords are not valid, it is bringing a dialog. Can you see this dialog again? Another object. Inside that dialog, we have a button. Now, see hierarchy of the object. We have, first of all, we have this parent window, and under that parent window, we have this dialog, and inside the dialog, we have a OK button. Now you come here. So here, this is the WPF edit username. This is the password, and then when you are giving a wrong password, now can you see this whole thing is the dialog. You understand what is this dialog means? Inside the dialog, we have this text box. Now, guys, this is very important part. You understand this. I'm bringing this local object repository. This is a, like, if you go for a UFT interview, definitely they'll be asking, okay, what is that local object repository? Tell us. So inside your action, if you expand it, you'll see there is a local object repository. This is your local object repository. When you record, remember, when you record whatever objects those you interact, all of the description of those objects goes into local object repository. And when you run the code, basically the description, like how it identifies the object, it reads the description from the local object repository, and then it is able to interact with the object. Right? Now let's take a look what is happening inside that local object repository. So when you are recording, then if you go there, I'm going to open this local object repository to show you how it is, you know, keeping all of the
local repository by default save.
By default, when you record, things will be saved in local object repository. Like all the corresponding details of this object that you see in your code, right? It will be saved in that local object repository. And local object repository basically is saving all of this useful information that code is using. Local object repository purpose, if without saving those information, you cannot, your code will not be working. If those description is not in the local object repository, this code will not work. You will see, soon you will see that your code will not be working. Okay.
আর এটা তো বাই ডিফল্ট সেভ হতো
by default.
আমাদের কিছু করতে হবে
So no, but I'll show you like how you can add things in the local object repository. Okay, so my computer is behaving a little bit slow today, but do you think you are understanding what we are doing, right? So
Tombai, I have a question.
sure.
The first one you see the specific one and the other one, any Windows application, ওই দুইটা বুঝিনি।
আচ্ছা যেটা আমি নিয়ে আসবো, I'll explain it again.
আমাদের ওপেন থাকতে হবে আপনার এটা তো আমরা স্পেসিফিক যেটা বলবো এটা আমরা ওপেন করি, ওপেন করার পরে আমরা রেকর্ড করি। প্রথমটা কি মানে আপনার
So when you select the first option, basically you will have to open the application manually. The
সেকেন্ডটা তো আমরা ম্যানুয়াল ওপেন করি, স্পেসিফিক যেটা ওটা তো আমরা ম্যানুয়াল ওপেন করি।
so specific means we specifically show, okay, this is the application tool you want to open. We specify this is the application, but tools of when we click on record, tools open that application. Not we. But in the first option, we do not say any specific thing, but we have to open it by ourselves.
সেকেন্ড অপশনে তো আমরা পাথ দিয়ে দিই।
Path did. We provide the path. Got it? So just I'm trying to explain that local object repository, what it does. So let's give it a little bit time. Can you see this local object repository? This is the local object repository, right? Inside the local object repository, we have a agent name text box. We have a password text box. We have a OK button, right? And then inside login failed, if you click on that, can you see login failed is a, if you take a look here, login failed is a dialog. Can you see? Let me move it a little bit. Yeah. Now let's take a look here, guys. So first of all, this username, right? What type of object is that? Web edit, right? Agent name. And then this password. This password again, web edit and password, and then this okay, what type of object? This is a WPF button. And then can you see login failed? This is a dialog. And this dialog, under this dialog, can you see under this dialog, when you minimize it, that OK button is no longer there. Under this dialog, we have another win button, right? Now everything is under this microfocus my flight sample, everything. If you minimize it, right, this is the parent window. Under this parent window, we have this user ID, password, OK button, and then when you click on OK button with incorrect password and user ID, this dialog open, and then you can you see this OK button. Now what will happen, guys? What will happen if I remove this OK button, or if I remove this let's say if the OK button that is inside the dialog, if I remove this one, I'm going to delete this OK button. Delete, right? I'm deleting one of the OK button. Which one? That is on the dialog. Now I'm deleting that. Now if you go to your code, this OK button you are trying to click, still you are trying to click on it, right? Let me run it. Let me close this application and let me run it. Let's do a highlight on this dialog as well. So I'm going to do a highlight on this dialog. Before I do anything on this one, I'm doing a highlight, right? Let me run it now.
ইএফটির জন্য তোমরা আলাদা ইক্লিপসের মতো তোমরা লাগে না ইক্লিপসে যেরকম আমরা লিখি ইউএফটির জন্য তোমার টুলস লাগে না সেম জায়গাতে আমরা কোড লিখি সেদিনে আমরা ইক্লিপসে লিখি কোড
ইউএফটিটা একটা আইডি একটা আইডি এখানে so what we write here is VB script. You will see that we are going to bring VB scripting as well. Okay, let me run it again. Now that OK button, do you have it in the repository? No, right? Let me run it. Okay, notice what is happening here. Okay, now it is opening the application. Okay, can you see what it is doing? Now it has clicked OK and then highlighted the dialog. But remember, we have removed that Win button, right? So is it clicking on that OK button now? No, it is keeping the dialog, right? So soon you will see there will be an error message. Can you see the OK object was not found in the object repository? Read this message. The OK object was not found in the object repository. Now what do you mean by that object repository? Like the local object repository. Because we have removed that object, now it is not getting that object and it is not able to click on that. Does it make sense? You understood what we did here? Now let me stop this. I'll tell you now, I'll show you how manually you can add that OK button in the object repository. So you'll see that we'll go to that object repository. Where is our object repository? This is our object repository, right? Guys, now can you see this plus button here? This plus button? Click on this plus button and then you come here. You want to add that OK button, right? Click on OK button. Right? Can you see Win button OK? Click on OK here. Okay, now it is adding that object in your repository. You will see how it goes. Notice it while it is adding it. Okay, wait there. Now can you see it? It was able to add that OK button there. You got it? So if you close the application, you open it again and then you go to that page and do the recording.
Disable OK button click করতে হবে
হ্যাঁ
অন্য কোনো অপশন নাই লিখে ওকে
হ্যাঁ লিখেও করা যাবে লিখেও Now you saw that how I added that object, right? Okay. Now, so how do you add? So let's say that before you can you see in this application, right? In this application we have this question mark. Before you click OK, you want to highlight this question mark. You want to highlight this question mark. How will you do that? Before you click OK, right? You are going to click on that highlight mark. So you'll have to record one more step, correct? How will you record? Like before you click OK, you want to highlight this question mark. Is that correct? Now, what I'm going to do is, you want me to record it or you want me to manually do it? Manually add this object to the repository and then do it. Let's do it in another way. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on plus again. And then what is the object that I want to interact? This question mark. Can you see? I'm going to say OK. Now this WPF button, right? You can give a different name, right? You can say question mark, right? And what is the it is a WPF button. I just changed the name a little bit. You understand what I did? Now this object, where do you want to add it? You want to add it before you click on OK. Can you see before before you click on this OK, you want to add this. So you create a empty space here, and then this is the object, right? You drag and drop that object here. You drag and drop that object here. And then you do not want to click on that. Can you see question mark? You do not want to click on that. What do you want to do? You are just trying to do a highlight. Now you run it again. Save and then run it again. Now again, can you see? You'll have to always temporary run results. Select this and click run. Remember that we already have an application opened there, right? So it has now, by the code, it has opened the application. You understand that, right? We already have an application opened. We didn't close it.
Yeah.
Now you are trying to, we have opened another application. Now it has become confused. So how many applications you have opened? Two. And then now it is becoming confused because you have two applications, cannot find agent name, objects, microfocus, verify that. So what is the problem here? Because you have two application open, right? Now it is going to select it. You got it?
Yeah.
Now it has become confused because you have two instances of application open. Now it is not able to decide from where it is confused. So that's why you'll have to make sure that your application is closed before you run anything. So how can you do that? So this is another thing you learn it. So what you can do, if you see what is this process name, this application, the name of the process is, what is the name of this process? If you go to task manager, right? If you go to your task manager, right? Then you will see that in the task manager, you will see, can you see flights GUI.exe, two of them open. What is the name? Flights GUI.exe. What is the process name? Flights GUI.exe. So I'm going to let me see if I can copy it from here. Okay, this one, flights GUI.exe. Now what I will do, before I do anything, before I open this application, I'll make sure that I'm closing this application. System util dot close process by, can you see close process by name? And what is the process that you want to close? You want to close this application. What is the name of this application? FLIGHTS, flights GUI dot exe, right? So let me go there again. Task manager. The name is flights GUI dot exe, right? Now before I do anything, I'm going to close flights GUI dot exe. Now let me put a breakpoint on line number 2. And I'll show you like what this line specifically does. Okay, so if I run it, the first line is here. Can you see I have the application opened here, right? Now let me show you what this line number 1 does.
line number 1 is close this.
Line number 1 close. I want to make sure that before I open another instance of this application, any existing open application, I want to close it before I open a new one. So I'm closing any open. So see how it will work here. Okay. Now, can you see after we have executed line number 1, do you see any other application open now?
No.
So you understand what is the purpose of this system util.close process by name? Okay. Now if you keep running it, I'm in line number 2 now. So now I'll keep running it. Okay. Now what is the additional line we have added? We have added this additional line where it will be highlighting that question mark, right? Before it is clicking on OK. So let me keep running. Okay, so it is doing the highlight, it is doing all of this stuff. Can you see it has highlighted that question mark? Right now it is taking care of all of this, and then it is basically it is done. Now it will be closing the application. So far, what is your question? You tell me. We did a lot of things. I want to make sure that you understood and you are able to do this up to this. Do you have any questions so far?
How can we highlight the question mark?
Oh, manually. So if you go to your object repository, right? This is your object repository. Now bring that application. Where is the bring this application? Okay, now your object repository, if you go to your UFT, this is your question mark, right? Can you see? You can highlight it from here. Can you see it is highlighting? Now again, what do? You go to your object repository, select the object that you want to highlight. You go to your repository, select the, so let's say dialog box you want to highlight, right? This is the dialog box. Dialog box is not there at the moment, right? So that's why it will not be able to. Now if you, can you see, this is the parent object. This is the parent object, the whole window. So now you will see that it will be highlighting the whole window. And then under each of, under this you have multiple objects. Now if you take a look here, again the thing that I showed you. Oh, it to manually, so we have brought it manually. So no, you'll have to keep the application open. Click on it, then it will bring it. No. If the button is not there, then you cannot display it. But what you can do, like you can write code so that all of this stuff that we are recording, you can write code that will be doing those stuff. We'll be learning those parts. Now, so what is happening here in this? So the cancel, the way you will be adding it, let's say that you want to highlight the cancel button as well, right? So what you do, again you this one, right? Okay, so let's say you want to highlight this cancel button as well, right? So what you do, you again go to your object repository, click on plus, right? You want to record it. Let me show you. Like you saw that by using plus how you can add that, right? Now I'm going to show you how you can record it. So what do you do? Let's say you want to add that object right here before OK, right? Again, before OK, you want to interact with that cancel. So what do? You create an empty line, put your cursor here, and then you start recording. Okay, it has started recording. Now what you do, you bring this application. Now you want to interact with this cancel, right? Click on cancel, right? So it has added a line, clicking on cancel, and let's stop it. So now can you see this cancel? We have added this, we have clicked on that cancel. Instead of click, I want to do a highlight action. You got it? How I brought that cancel? Jonathan?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so if you go to your object repository, so these are the, if let's say this question mark, right? Can you see type button, and if you click on this plus, for example, let's say sometimes, you know, after a couple of days, if you come and then this, if this doesn't work, then you'll be clicking on plus, and then you'll see if this, oh, the application is not there, right? Let me bring this application. Let's go. So now if you go there, and click on plus, you will see that there are other attributes that you can bring, right? Can you see help text UFT tutorial? You can click and bring it here to identify the object. So these are additional attributes. Those are available for you to use for identifying this object. Okay. Now, so this is my local object repository. I showed you how you can add object in the local object repository manually. I showed you how you can add a specific line in between your code. I showed you the more details, like more attribute of the objects, and then we have close the application like by process name. We have like this syntax, right? It will be very useful for you. Close process by name, system util.run, right? So these, all of these things we have explained. So what I want to do at this point, right? I want to give you opportunity. You do all of this stuff, whatever we did by yourself. I'll be guiding you. And we will stop recording at this point, but for the remaining session, I'll be starting another recording. So at this point, what you want to do, you start doing whatever we did, all of the stuff that we did so far, right? You do it in your computer by yourself so that you are okay. You are able to do it. If you do not do it, then you will be forgetting it in the next class. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do it. Let me stop recording in the meantime and I'll be guiding you.